What's up guys, O'Whale here, bringing you some new insight into music. Now, I am super excited for what 2019 has to bring music-wise, but before we jump into anything this year, I'd like to discuss last year, and what an amazing year it was. 2018, as many have said, was a great year for music, so I'd like to share with you my top 20 albums of 2018. Last on the list, but not least this year, is Caro Caro Bonito's Time and Place. This album takes a different and refreshing turn from their previous work. Leaving behind the K-pop and synth-pop focused style, this album approaches tracks with more elements of noise, rock, and pop. Although I did enjoy some of their previous tracks, I hope they pursue this particular style a bit more in the future. At number 19, I put Aminé's 1.5. Although I did enjoy 2017's Good For You a bit more, this hip-hop project is still a pretty solid record, filled with quite a few bangers, utilizing minimalist yet catchy beats, along with Aminé's fun delivery. I was especially impressed by the opening track, Dr. Whoever, giving great context for this album, since Aminé just makes songs that he likes, and that make him feel better, hoping to please his audience and keep them with him as well. Serpent with Feet's Soil takes spot 18. Despite not having the best sound production, Serpent with Feet's lyricism and musical ideas make this album. There are quite a few tracks on here that attack soul and gospel music in interesting ways, coupled with beautiful vocals and vulnerable narrative style. I'm looking forward to hearing more music from this guy. Number 17 goes to Janelle Monáe's Dirty Computer. I was actually surprised by how much I liked this record, since many of the tracks are a bit too accessible and poppy for my taste. But this album grew on me with more listens. Monáe's vocals and production are very smooth and pleasant, and there are quite a few tracks on here that I find myself bopping to. I was surprised and excited by the female empowerment track Django Jane as well. Monáe's bars on this are better than most female rappers I've heard this year, and the feminist message is carried out on here a lot better than most other pop artists as well. Julia Holter's Aviary comes in at number 16. This is an interesting and experimental art pop record. This record is engaging, just on a compositional standpoint. Many of the tracks on here take risks and turns that will baffle you on the first listen. However, after more delves into it, I liked it a bit more, although being quite a long listen. Holter's idiosyncratic and cacophonous style redefine and question what music can be. At number 15, I have Death Grips' Year of the Snitch. Although not the experimental hip-hop group's best record, Year of the Snitch offers quite a few groundbreaking tracks. Death Grips has questioned again what music can be, and has even grown away from their hip-hop influence. You won't find Death Grips' most hard-hitting, experimental, or catchy sounds on here, but you still will get music that'll baffle you. Next up, the boys of Brockhampton find themselves at number 14. I feel so bad that I have to put them so low, as the Saturation Trilogy, mainly 2 and 3, were two of my favorite albums last year. And they can go toe-to-toe with some of my favorite hip-hop albums of all time. Yet, Iridescence just didn't make it for me. I do enjoy quite a few tracks on this thing, but there are also quite a few that are just not as memorable as some of their other work. The songwriting has declined, and the production has taken some different turns. That being said, this is still a solid record with some genre-defying tracks on here, and some of the members, mainly Bareface and Joba, have been putting out some of their best work here, with some grimy and glitchy production and samples under in-your-face, aggressive, and heartfelt, and vulnerable bars. Iridescence is a great listen. Lucky number 13 goes to Kali Uchis's Isolation. Much like Dirty Computer, this is an album that I was surprised I liked so much. Although this record is not as poppy as Monáe's, it still has tracks that wouldn't always fit my particular tastes. However, this thing is so dang smooth. Solid production, and quite a few tracks that are genre-defying. It's hard to categorize a lot of what's on here. Uchis is a very versatile artist, putting out some Latin dance, soul, R&B, and even some rock-flavored tracks. Uchisi's vocals and lyrics combine with solid production to create a great listen, although some tracks are lacking in flair or a tad too poppy. The soul-crushing music of Daughters, You Won't Get What You Want takes number 12. Whoo, boy, what drudgery it was to listen to this. And I mean that in the best way possible. Each song seems to be darker and drearier than the next, assaulting noise rock instrumentals with depressing, hell-fueled lyrics hitting you from every side. Believe me, this album is not for the faint of heart. Also, if you want to feel better about the human experience, don't listen. But if you want to delve into the darkest depths of the human soul with no escape or place for light, come right in. Transgender electronic music producer Sophie's Oil of Every Pearl's Uninsides takes number 11. I was blown away by a lot of these tracks. Sophie uses so many unique and interesting sounds in her production that I hope other electronic producers take notice of. Many risky tracks are on here, fueled by noisy and bizarre, macabre, and unnerving undertones. Lyrical writing and song topics vary, and I was especially impressed by the track Face Shopping. Although there are a few slow points to this album, overall, it's quite the roller coaster listen. And here we are, the top 10. That means it's time to talk about Superorganism's Self-Titled. This album is so dang fun! Each track on here is a bop, using really bizarre and hilarious samples, taking influence from some indie rock and pop, and various electronic producers. Superorganism offers a really eccentric and idiosyncratic, eclectic sound. In tandem with Orono Noguchi's melancholic vocal delivery and these goofy, cutesy instrumentals, Superorganism's Self-Titled makes for a great listen. Number 9 goes to yet another incredibly fun and versatile record, Anderson .Paak's Oxnard. Man, this thing is such a soulful, colorful, and jouncy take on R&B and hip-hop. Each track on here had me bouncing up and dancing around, singing along to Anderson's clean vocals, tapping my foot to these amazing drum beats and grooving to these amazingly smooth bass lines. Although I found the first single, Tints, to be a bit generic, I was still impressed with the amazing delivered production value and great feature by Kendrick Lamar. However, the rest of this album really sold it for me, especially tracks like The Chase, Who Are You, Mansa Musa, Cheers, and Sweet Chick. Love it. At number 8, I've got the instrumental math and prog rock band Polyphia's New Levels, New Devils. This album really hit home for me. I'm a huge sucker for the sprawling guitar, drum, and bass solos of 60s, 70s, and 80s prog rock, and boy, oh boy, did these guys deliver that. This album is filled with scrumptious licks, fills, and riffs that will have you foaming at the mouth, hopefully as much as I was. Although nothing to offer on the vocal side, this band still offers some amazing grooves, bops, and bangers that all come together to build a fantastic album. Number 7 plays host to Parquet Court's Wide Awake! Probably one of my favorite punk albums in a while. A lot of the topics on this album are thoughtful, universal, relevant, and literally woke. I especially enjoyed the track Violence. Over a groovy instrumental, we get vocals painting primal vices such as violence and greed as these omnipresent forces that weigh on us and define our whole lives. Which is fact. Overall, this record is filled with great grooves and bops and some intelligent rebel lyrics. Coming in at number 6 is The Void's Virtue, a fun, experimental, and crazy ride through rock music. The Voids offer great creativity to the genre, each track hosting unique sounds and effects, yet still being driven by guitar, bass, keys, drums, and vocals. This album is jam-packed with catchy riffs and rhythms that will have you headbanging and singing along. Each track on here has a different type of sound, and there is hardly a dull moment. Bridging the gap between electronic, indie, psychedelic, and rock music, Virtue makes for an amazing rock record. And here we are, at the top 5. It was very difficult for me to order the records up here as I love each for a different reason. But first, let's talk about No Name's Room 25. Filled with shy, yet provocative and clever personality, No Name's soft-spoken and stream-of-consciousness flow presents a lot to love. Coupled with amazingly jazzy and soulful production, No Name style is a refreshing take on hip-hop. This explores a lot of emotions as No Name took an introspective view into her life and dreams. From the groovy bop of Blaxploitation to the soulful ballad of Don't Forget About Me, Room 25 is a fantastic record. Next at number 4 we have Kanye West and Kid Cudi's brainchild, Kids See Ghosts. For my first lesson, half of this record I've thoroughly enjoyed, and the other half I didn't like too much. But I kept coming back because I was intrigued by the groundbreaking production on this thing. Some of the other tracks, such as Kids See Ghosts, Reborn, and Cudi Montage, started to grow on me. This album has bangers upon bangers, aggressive beats influenced by rock, psychedelic, and electronic music. Creative wordplay and sample work by Kanye, and some of the best work from Kid Cudi by far. Absolutely love the creative vocal lines from Feel the Love and Free! And Fire having a hard-hitting beat, and Fourth Dimension having some of the most creative sample work I've heard in a long time. Wonderful meeting of the minds here. Number 3 goes to Jack White's Boarding House Reach. Amazing blues rock album with wild, unique, and experimental sound production. The lyrics on this thing are just as impressive as the sound. I was impressed by tracks like Why Walk a Dog and Corporation and Ice Station Zebra for their creative analogies and subject matter. Definitely some of Jack White's best work on here, and I'm happy to see the amount of reach this guy has. Soulful, bluesy, and hard rock jams are all incorporated on this record to make the best sounding rock album this year. My number 2 album of the year is straight from Baltimore's underground, JPEG Mafia's Veteran. Holy cow, I can't believe how much this thing slaps! From the beginning to the end, this record is a wild ride through hip-hop. The beats are experimental, mind-wrenching, grimy, loud, and hard-hitting. Peggy's delivery is sporadic, in-your-face, violent, and stream of consciousness, and, well, matches the sound and style of the beats almost perfectly. Everything about this project is so creative, mixing rebel statements against society with dark humor. Peggy's lyricism is something to behold. Overall, the best hip-hop album this year. And last, quite the opposite of least, is my album of the year, MGMT's Little Dark Age. As I have said before, the top 5 albums were all albums that heavily contested for spot number 1. But since I heard this album, I was absolutely blown away by and addicted to this thing all year. Every track on here is unique and great in its own way. The sound, composition, and lyricism are at MGMT's peak on every track. This is the duo's best material by far. Instrumentals inspired by synthwave and synthpop, even hypnagogic pop artists like Ariel Pink and John Mouse. Songs poking fun and raising awareness for the little evils in Millennium and Gen Z society. Even though topics do not reach incredibly lofty heights, they are still relevant and important to the state of the human soul. Ranging from soulful, hilarious, and melancholic, this album captures multiple forms of delivery and sound. For me, this album captured a lot of my 2018 and holds a special place in my heart. And that's why it's my album of the year. Thank you so much for letting me share my favorite albums with you. I hope to continue to enlighten your lives with new perspectives on music in the future. Expect more thorough reviews in 2019, as this video I was kind of pressed for time, and wasn't able to share all my thoughts on this wonderful music. But as for now, peace out.